President Trump has sent a stern warning to the BRICS nations, urging them to take a firm stance against any efforts to introduce a competing currency to the US dollar. He reaffirmed his commitment to preserving the US dollar as the world's primary reserve currency, and made it clear that severe economic sanctions, including 100% tariffs, would be imposed on any nation attempting to undermine its supremacy. In a direct statement last year, Trump firmly declared that there is no chance of BRICS replacing the US dollar in international trade or elsewhere. He added that any country attempting such a move would face the consequences of tariffs and a severed relationship with the United States. Earlier this year, he reiterated his position on social media, insisting that BRICS countries must clearly commit to not endorsing or creating any rival currency that could weaken the US dollar. If these countries fail to comply, they will face substantial tariffs and be entirely cut off from the large US market. In contrast to Trump's strong warning, Brazil, the current BRICS president, is moving forward with reforms designed to facilitate payments in local currencies. These reforms aim to reduce the BRICS bloc's reliance on the US dollar by embracing innovative technologies such as blockchain and improved payment systems, which would lower trade costs and simplify international transactions. Brazil's own success with its domestic instant payment system, PIX, which has quickly gained popularity since its launch in late 2020, serves as a model for these efforts. Additionally, Brazil has implemented a local currency payment system, SML, which allows for direct trade settlements in Brazilian reais, BRL, with neighboring countries like Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay, bypassing the US dollar. Although these transactions currently take several business days to process, there is optimism that integrating instant payment technologies will make them faster, more secure, and more cost-effective. Later this month, BRICS representatives will meet in South Africa alongside the G20 summit, where Brazil will present its plans for the July BRICS summit. The group has also expanded to include new members such as Egypt, Ethiopia, Indonesia, Iran, Saudi Arabia, and the UAE. The move towards local currency payments is seen as part of a broader strategy to enhance financial independence and resilience in emerging economies. The rise of the US dollar as the world's dominant currency is the result of deliberate historical events and policy decisions. The dollar's journey to supremacy began in the aftermath of World War II, when the Bretton Woods Agreement in 1944 established the US dollar as the central global currency, pegged to gold, with other currencies tied to it. This framework provided stability and solidified the United States as the leading economic and political power. For decades, the US dollar became integral to global trade, fueled by the economic strength of the United States, its industrial capacity, and sound fiscal policies. By the late 1960s, however, fiscal imbalances and inflation put pressure on the fixed exchange rate system. In 1971, President Nixon ended the dollar's convertibility to gold, marking the end of the Bretton Woods system and ushering in a new era of floating exchange rates. Despite this shift, the US dollar maintained its dominant position, particularly with the rise of the petrodollar system in the 1970s, where oil was priced exclusively in dollars, ensuring constant demand for the currency. Today, Trump's strong declaration signals growing concern about efforts to challenge the dollar's dominance. The potential for a widespread shift away from the dollar could undermine its global standing and destabilize the US economy. A successful move by major economies to adopt alternative currencies or develop a viable rival to the dollar could have significant repercussions, including lower demand for US Treasury bonds, higher borrowing costs, and diminished geopolitical influence. A rapid departure from the dollar would alter the global monetary landscape and have far-reaching consequences for global trade, finance, and diplomacy. Let's take a closer look at the progress BRICS nations have made in reducing their reliance on the US dollar. BRICS members have been gradually promoting the use of their own currencies in trade, driven by both political and economic motivations. In early 2023, China and Brazil, the two largest BRICS economies, decided to settle trade transactions in their respective currencies: the Chinese yuan, CNY, and the Brazilian real, BRL, eliminating the need for the US dollar as an intermediary. This move enhances trade efficiency and reduces exchange rate risks, benefiting businesses in both countries. In 2022, trade between China and Brazil reached approximately $150 billion, and by using local currencies, both nations expect to lower conversion fees and increase financial independence. Iran and Russia have also made significant strides in integrating their financial systems to enhance bilateral trade and evade Western sanctions. In 2023, they linked their national payment networks, enabling them to conduct transactions without relying on the SWIFT system, a key financial messaging platform. This integration allows for the issuance of letters of credit and transfers without the need for traditional Western banking channels. By the middle of 2024, Iran and Russia expanded this collaboration, enabling the use of Russian Mir payment cards in Iran, further facilitating trade and reducing reliance on Western financial systems. India and Russia have similarly increased their use of local currencies in trade, particularly in the energy sector, following the imposition of sanctions on Russia. In 2023, Russia became India's primary supplier of crude oil, and much of the trade was conducted in Indian rupees, INR, and Russian rubles, rupee. This arrangement allows both countries to sidestep dollar-based payment systems, safeguarding them from external economic pressures. South Africa, the smallest BRICS economy, has also shown a preference for reducing its dependence on the US dollar. In 2023, South Africa and China signed agreements to settle certain transactions, including imports of machinery and electronics, in yuan. This move reduces reliance on the dollar and enhances liquidity in African markets. These efforts highlight the growing momentum within BRICS countries to challenge the US dollar's dominance in global trade. As these nations continue to explore alternative financial frameworks, the potential for a shift in global financial dynamics grows stronger. The implications of such a transition will be closely watched by economists, policymakers, and global markets alike. BRICS Pay. What's it all about? It's a decentralized payment platform built by Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, the BRICS nations. The goal? To streamline cross-border payments in local currencies and reduce reliance on Western financial systems, like SWIFT. It's all about giving these countries more financial independence. Launched in 2018 by the BRICS Business Council, BRICS Pay uses each country's existing payment infrastructure, like Russia's Mir network and India's UPI, to simplify transactions between member states. The beauty of it? You can send and receive payments in your own currency, saving on conversion fees and cutting down transaction costs. At its core, BRICS Pay runs on blockchain, secure, transparent, and fast. It blends centralized systems for domestic payments with decentralized tech for international ones. This makes it both adaptable to regulations and technologically advanced. Local systems like Mir, UPI, and China's UnionPay are seamlessly integrated for secure national transactions. But for cross-border payments, it's blockchain all the way. Peer-to-peer, no middlemen, real-time settlements. Blockchain's distributed ledger ensures every transaction is locked in, and smart contracts automate the entire process, including currency conversions. Why does this matter? BRICS Pay is a direct challenge to the US dollar. By promoting the use of local currencies for international trade, it weakens the dollar's global dominance. This is part of a bigger effort to create a multipolar financial system, giving BRICS countries more control over their economic future. In 2024, at the BRICS Summit in Kazan, Russia, BRICS Pay was officially launched. It was a huge moment. This system isn't just an alternative. It's a full-fledged solution for nations looking to break free from traditional Western financial networks. But that's not all. The BRICS nations have also been stockpiling gold. By mid-2024, they had gathered over 6,200 tons, 21.4% of global gold reserves. Russia leads the pack with 2,340 tons, followed by China. Brazil has even tripled its reserves since 2018. Why? To strengthen their financial stability and reduce dependence on the US dollar. Gold is a powerful hedge against economic instability and external sanctions. It also signals a clear intent to build financial systems that can operate outside the US-controlled networks. Together with BRICS Pay, these moves are reshaping the financial landscape, making these nations less vulnerable to external economic pressures. Now, let's talk about dollarization, the trend of countries moving away from the US dollar in global trade. Why? To regain control over their economies. The US dollar's dominance gives the US enormous influence over global markets, and many nations are looking to reduce their vulnerability to this power. By diversifying into other currencies and even gold, these countries are spreading risk and weakening the dollar's control. Countries like China and Russia are leading the charge by promoting their own currencies in international trade, challenging the dollar's supremacy. And with agreements like China and Brazil trading in their own currencies, they're cutting down on conversion costs and making the dollar less necessary. But what about Trump? Former President Trump has made it clear that the US won't tolerate any moves to weaken the dollar. On social media, he warned BRICS nations that if they try to challenge the dollar, they'll face 100% tariffs and be shut out of the US market. His administration has even considered penalties for countries doing business outside the dollar, including imposing tariffs and labeling them currency manipulators. Trump's stance is consistent with his broader economic strategy. He's determined to maintain the US dollar's dominance, and any attempts to weaken it will face retaliation. This has become a major point of tension as BRICS continues to push for alternatives. The BRICS nations' decision to create a new payment system and potentially introduce a rival currency is shaking up the global financial order. By reducing their dependence on the US dollar, BRICS is creating a new financial infrastructure that challenges the long-standing dominance of the US. For the US, this is a huge deal. The dollar's status as the global reserve currency gives the US an edge in global finance, lower borrowing costs, and substantial leverage in international markets. But as BRICS moves forward with their own systems, that could all change, shifting the balance of financial power in the world.